All right, good morning, good afternoon. We're going to be talking about 1.5 negative exponents. I can simplify expressions involving negative exponents. Now remember, when you are following along with this video, I would pause it here, fill out your notes, and then start the video back up so that I can talk and you can be paying attention when I'm talking, going through these vocabulary. So the first thing we do want to do is we want to define some of these things. So the first thing, multiplicative inverse, we want to know. That means there's two numbers with a product of 1. They're also called reciprocals. Here it gets kind of messy, so I'm just going to go over here real quick. So reciprocals, say 2/3 is a fraction. If I flip it over, it's 3/2. This is this reciprocal. It's just a fraction flipped. Meaning when I multiply these two numbers together, 2 times 3 on top is 6, 3 times 2 on the bottom is 6, 6 divided by 6 is equal to 1. So that means when they are multiplied together, they equal 1. Back here, example 2/3 and 3/2, just kind of like what I just did. Now a negative exponent is just the number is to the multiplicative inverse of its nth power. Now this doesn't make a lot of sense until we get going with it. Hint, the term with a negative exponent is in the wrong spot of the fraction. Only the terms with a negative exponent move. So what we're going to do is we're going to be moving it. If it is in the numerator, means it's in the top part of a fraction, it needs to move to the denominator or to the bottom. And if it's in the denominator, you move it to the numerator or the top. So moving the term changes the negative exponent to a positive exponent. So really that's all we're going to be doing. And when I said in there, only the term with the negative exponent moves. So like right here, I have 2z to the negative second. Only z is to the negative second. So only this will be moved. So 2, right now, if it doesn't have a fraction, like none of these do at this point in time, I can always make it a fraction and put it over 1. I have not changed it. I can do that. That is legal. And what I want to do is I want to keep that 2 on the top part of the fraction, and then the z, it's just going to move to the bottom, and that gets rid of that negative 2. So now it just becomes 2. This is really important that you do not think that this negative makes my answer negative. So here what's going to happen is, right now, this is a fraction. It's completely legal to put it over 1. What I can do is I can move it to the bottom of the fraction, leaving just the 1 on top. Because I can multiply this by 1, correct? And not change it. So I can multiply it by 1, so that's why that 1 is left up there. And then this moves down here, and I'm actually going to be multiplying it by 1. Again, not changing it, because anything multiplied by 1 is itself. Now I have 1/4 to the third power. Again, this negative will not make my answer negative. All it's going to do is actually make it smaller. It's going to make it a fraction. Okay, now if I have 4 to the third power, that means 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, so I have 1/64. And that is my answer. Again, I don't have a negative answer. This negative exponent does not make my answer negative. Okay, again, let's change this to a fraction. Just put it over 1. You can do that. You can put anything over 1. And then I'm going to move this to the bottom of the fraction. So 1 stays on top. Now it's 7 to the third power. Then I do 7 times 7, which is 49, times 7, 63, 28, 29, 30, 31, 343. So, my math, I should have been 343. So I have 1 and 7 to the third power is 343. Again, looking that I do not have a negative answer. Now if you see my directions, write the expression using only positive exponents. Right now I have only positive exponents. So right here, This is only positive exponents. Now if it said to solve it, I would solve it all the way down. So unless it says do not solve, just leave with a positive exponent, I would make it here. If it says just do as a positive, if the directions are specific like that, I would leave it like this. But unless it states otherwise, I want to solve it or evaluate it down as far as I can, meaning I want to multiply this 7 times itself 3 times, so 7 times 7 times 7. Now here, we don't know what m is. M is representing a number at this time. It's a variable. We don't know what it's representing. We just know that it's going to be m. It's something. But we want to get rid of that negative exponent because we're asked to only have positive exponents. So again, I'm going to put it over 1, and then it moves to the bottom of the fraction, getting rid of that negative exponent. Okay, here we did this one already. Now here's another one that only this y is to the negative exponent. So first I'm going to put my whole number over 1, and then the 13 and the x stay on top of my fraction, but that y moves to the bottom, and the negative 8 changes to a positive 8. And I'm done. There's no other math that can be done. There's no other operations. Here, I have 3, one on the bottom, the 3 stays on top, the y stays on top. That x to the negative 4th moves to the bottom, getting rid of that negative sign. Okay. Now, write each fraction as an expression using a negative exponent, and if possible, use a negative exponent other than negative 1. So, what that means is any number can be placed to the first power, right? Like here. But are these numbers a number that can be made by doing other exponents? Like this one right away. 100 is also known as 10 to the second power. So I can change 1 over 100 to 1 over 10 to the second power. I've not changed this number. These both still equal 100. But now what they're asking us to do is be able to change it from this back to that negative. So it's on the bottom of the fraction. If I move it to the top of the fraction, then I get that negative back. So it would be 10 to the negative second power. And that would be my answer. Same with this one. I don't have, not that I can think of my top of my head, there's nothing that multiplied by itself will get me 15. Because 4 times 4 is 16, 3 times 3 is 9. So these two numbers are not perfect squares. So I'm just going to be putting them, I'm going to move them to the top of the fraction, and by doing that I have to make that exponent of 1 negative. And there's my answer. Same with this one, 18 to the negative first power. Okay, this one is a little more difficult. We have a c to the second power. Well, I want to move it to the top because I want to get using negative exponents. So I have 3c, and now it's going to be a negative 2. Okay, if I have this a to the third and I want to make it negative, I just put it below. Same with this 5c to the fifth. I can bring it above and make it negative. So I can actually just switch those spots and making them both negative. Same with this one. If I bring y to the top of the fraction, it becomes the negative 7, x to the negative fifth. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is write each decimal as an expression using a negative exponent. If possible, use a negative exponent other than negative 1. So first thing, 1 here is about 0.001 inch in diameter. And how do we say this? Remember, this is our thousandths place. Thinking of how many zeros we have in 1,000. We have 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3 places. So this is 1/1000th of an inch. So I'm going to write that 1/1000th of an inch. Then we want to write it with a decimal as a power of 10. Again, I have 3 zeros, so it's just going to be 10 to the third power. So I just changed my 1,000 to 10 to the third power. Now I want to write it with a negative exponent. So again, I'm going to bring this to the top. If I bring it to the top, it's going to make that 3 negative. So I get 10 to the negative third power. And that is my answer. Okay, a water molecule is about, now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What number has 10 zeros? 6. Oh, I forgot one. Let's make this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 zeros. So whatever this number here will go right here. So if this was 5, this would go right up here. Now I want to change this to a power of 10. Again, however many places here, however many zeros are here, that's how many is 10 to the whatever power. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 10 to the 10th power. Still all over 1. And then I can move this up here, and I have to make this 10 negative. So 10 to the negative 10th power. That's my answer. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is multiply and divide with negative exponents. You need to just remember your rules for the product of powers and the quotient of powers. Meaning, if I have the like bases, these two 5s are my bases, I can just add their exponents. So 3 plus a negative 5 equals a negative 2. So 5 to the negative second power. But I still want to get rid of my negative, so I want to put it under, on the bottom of the fraction, under 1. But I can do, what is 5 to the second power, or 5 times 5? Is 25. Again, remember that this negative does not make my answer negative. It just brings it to the bottom of the fraction. So n, I don't know what n is. N is just a number in the place of a number right now, so I need to, my answer will not be an answer like this one. So n to the 9th times n to the negative 4th, I'm going to add 9 plus a negative 4, so I get n to the 5th power. It's not negative, so I leave it as that. Okay, negative 8 plus 2, because I have a like basis right here of 3, so I have 3 to the negative 6th power, and I'm going to just put that under 1. And right now I'm just going to leave it as 1 over 3 to the 6th power, because I got rid of my negative. Okay, now we're dividing. Remember, when I'm dividing like bases, I subtract their exponents. So I have negative 1 minus a negative 4. So I have minus a negative. I can change it to adding a positive. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3, so I have w to the 3rd power. Now, I'm going to do it one other way, because there is another way you can do this. I can flip these around, and then I get both of them positive. Remember, if I have a negative and I move it to the top, it becomes positive. Same with if it's on top. If you move it to the bottom, it becomes positive. So here, now I have w to the 4th, w to the 1st. Subtract them, I get w to the 3rd. I got the same answer. It was just two different ways of doing it. Here, 11, 2 minus 4 is a negative 2. I want to make sure to put that on the bottom of the fraction. Getting rid of the negative. 11 times 11, 121. Here again, I'm going to flip these first to make it easier on me. And then I'm going to subtract them. 7 minus 4 is 3. Sorry I rushed through those last ones, but I wanted to get to your assignment before my time ran out. Page 47, 1 through 21 odd, 27 through 41 odd. Remember to do it on a separate sheet of paper.